quite close to that curve there, and then just aiming straight where we're going.
Hello there, sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Grubby Man Go Karting, and we are in South Wales, Llanello, a very nice part of the country, beautiful track, quite thin, and we are starting our first heat at the back, as is tradition. So we're starting P18 now. We're going out just now for our 4 minutes of practice or so. You can see the flags are flying at half mast there. That's because Queen Elizabeth has just died, of course. So we've done our first sort of 4 minutes of practice, and we are off and underway. And you can see that the right-hand side of the grid doesn't get a great start, does it? Looking up the inside of James Radovic, but not going for it on this occasion. Just have to slot in, and we are actually up one place. Guy on our left, we got the better of, but yeah, up the inside of James there. James tries to hang it around the outside, but doesn't quite work out. Just get loaded slightly into turn 3, whatever this is, yeah, it's we're just gonna. This is Tom ahead of us. We're just gonna push him through there. See if we can get through on these two guys. Tom gets through on both of them. I get through on one. Tom just gives us a thumbs up there to say thank you for the push through. Sometimes it really makes sense to work together, yeah, just a bit of slip there on the apex. So that's kind of ruined our exit. We are going to go for it, but yeah, not quite enough. But unfortunately, just ahead of us, we've got two karts that have come together. That was a C3 runner, and then that was one of the Applewood guys actually. So he's going to be really quick. He's going to be coming back through, but we're up another couple of positions there. Yeah, really important now to not let the group ahead of us get too far away. As you can see already, just by taking a little bit of evasive action and going for a couple of moves, we've already lost a little bit of ground to the group of karts ahead of us. We're up the inside now into the pretty fast right-hand. We're going to have to compromise our apex speed a little bit, but we get the job done there. And now it's head down and attempting to reel the group in front of us. Of course, the issue is at Club 100. It's not really an issue, it's a symptom of a good thing, really. The drivers are all pretty talented. Even the guys like me who are starting in C3, I'm obviously very talented. That's what I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Now, everyone is really talented, ranging from the beginners like me to the absolute weapons of drivers who are in the C1 class, and I honestly don't know how some of those guys are as fast as they are. Very much hoping at one point someday to be up close and learning one or two things from them. But at the moment, not quite. We've had a lap now to get our head down. I'd say that we are perhaps reeling them in slightly. We're quite good into the braking zone here, perhaps compromising our exit a little bit, so possibly taking a little bit too much speed in and then losing the advantage on the outside. But yeah, I'd say that we are a little bit closer to some of these guys than we were. So it's going to take us certainly a couple of laps to get a little bit closer to them. They are all working together at the moment. You can see that there's no real lunges being made, no silly moves or anything like that. As I say that, we've got one guy going up the inside, and you can see we are noticeably closer as they start fighting. That gives us a real opportunity now, and we are much closer this lap than we had been in the last lap. And I suppose this is the challenge, isn't it, as Tom looks around, seeing where I am, making sure I'm not close enough to make a move. This is the challenge, isn't it, when you're fighting through from the back, being able to put some good lap times in and fight at the same time is pretty tricky. And looking at some of my lap times, I certainly am seeing that in the final, when you're sort of more your grid position is more based on how you've done earlier on in the day. In the final, where I'm sort of racing very similar guys who are very similar on pace, that largely helps the lap times quite a lot. Just a little bit of contact there between Tom and the driver in front, and Applewood make their way through, just get pinched onto the curb slightly, and you see there he's done very well. He's going to get both of us. We get overtaken, but now we've got the inside line into the right-hander there, so we actually make a move up on Tom. Lose a place but gain one at the same time. And actually, it would be pretty great if we can follow this guy up ahead, because he is a C1 driver, one of the normal front runners, regular A finalist. And so if we can have a look at what he's doing, as the driver in front does him a big favour, going wide there and releasing him. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Possibly it is. Sometimes drivers don't fight the really top guys. We go for a move there, but it doesn't quite come off. We are required to stay behind now. Just I suppose a little bit about the track. The track. Never been here before, and at this point I have to say a big thank you to Matt Horgan, who very kindly allowed me to get a little bit or take a little bit of his lap time. As the driver in front gives us a little bit of space. I'll continue that point in a minute. Driver in front very sensibly gives us a little bit of space there. We both live to fight another day. I was a little bit committed, but I did manage to back out. In the slipstream now, seeing what we can do. Not a great... It feels like that should be an amazing overtaking point, but on the track walk that you saw us just taking part in at the start of the day, we were told that actually there's probably a little bit more overtaking that gets done on the exit of that corner than the entry. So as we go up the inside now, we have managed to make the move stick eventually. Onto the track and everything. The track in real life is actually much thinner than it sort of looks here, and I have to say it's a great track actually. A lot of people really enjoy this track, and in a way it reminds me, it's a bit of a cross between Lydd, because it's high speed, and also Bayford Meadows, in that there are quite a lot of corners where you've got various different lines going on, all of them working, all of them legitimate lines. And you can sort of potentially make some moves, and we're going to see some of those moves over the course of the racing today. You can either go for an early apex and get some take some of the initiative on the way in, or you can go for the exit. And certainly I think going for the exit is the right thing to do for lap time, but obviously when you are in the middle of a fight, you might need to know who's behind you. You might need to make sure that there's no one willing and able to throw one up the inside if you're going to leave the door open. So it's a great challenge, variety of different corners. There's some long straights, just like we're going into here. There's some chicanes, some hairpins, so really, really good stuff. And it looks like a beautiful day as well, doesn't it? It's going to turn into a beautiful day, but it is actually very cold at the moment as we cross the line. This is a P10, so we just about got into P10 there. There we are, that's up 8 positions. We were 18th on the grid, so not a bad start to the day. We're just going to go into Heat 2 now, behind Penny here, who's also a very, very quick driver. So I didn't know this at the time, but I'm just going to try and follow him through. The right-hand side of the grid gets a great start. You can see there, sometimes the left-hand side of the grid gets a good start, sometimes the right-hand side gets a good start. You never really know what's going to happen, actually. But yeah, great start there, actually. And we started further up the grid this time anyway. So much better. As the cone goes flying, and we've got Josh just ahead of us here, Josh Petty. All of these drivers in front are sort of top-class drivers here. They're either C1 or C2, and some fairly ferocious battling going on. And it all comes to a head in the chicane. We have to sort of jump off the gas, and unfortunately we've got a driver going around the outside. Very, very good move from him. He's going to get both of us, actually. He might even get a third. Not quite. Great move. Great move from him there. And if you just look ahead here, this is what I mean about some of the moves going on. We go up the inside of Josh, and I don't know if you saw it, just over to the right there were 2 drivers having an accident just as we were making that move ahead of us. So we've actually gone up 3 places there. Now, there weren't any yellow flags, and actually I didn't really, I could see something out of the corner of my eye just at the time. But I mean, it was far too late to back out of the move. No yellow flags, just at the point where we were overtaking. Certainly a sort of yeah, bad luck for those guys, but a little bit more luck for us, I suppose. So yeah, at the moment this heat is going pretty well actually. We are up to, where are we? I'm just going to try and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're something like 8, something like that. Not sure exactly, but yeah, not a bad opening couple of laps there. So again, it's just going to be a case now of trying to do our best to keep our head down and put some good lap times in, because surely there are going to be some much faster drivers coming back through the field, particularly those guys who sort of got spun out or who didn't get a particularly good start. So the longer we can spend putting in consistent lap times, the better. And as I'm doing that, I started talking about Matt Horgan, who very kindly shared some of his tests with me. So a huge thank you to Matt, because I've never been here before. And having he sort of gave me, I paid for about a third of the test, and he gave me about half of it. So very, very generous of it. Generous of him, and very much appreciated, so thank you to him. And actually he had quite an interesting weekend. So a little bit about the track. Now the curbs here aren't too bad, as Josh has a look up the inside there. Josh is all over the back of me. The curbs here aren't too bad, but they will unsettle the car a little bit, but there is one curb which you really do have to look out for, as we just get a bit of a tap there from this guy. This is one of the faster guys. This curb here on the left, that sausage curb right there, now that is something to be avoided, because the day before Matt went through, or Matt sort of ground along that curb. He went a little bit wide and rode the curb, and what that actually did was shatter the disc brake, and he didn't know anything about that until he hit the brakes here. And this is a fast corner. He ended up in that barrier on the left, so he was absolutely fine. So good to see that. And if you want to have a look at that, a guy called Mark Ford has put it up on his YouTube. So do go and have a look. It's called Matt Horgan brake failure or something like that at Lalando. So do go and check that out. It's quite eye-opening footage. But stay off this curb, I think, is the takeaway from that there. But yeah, no, very good track overall. Actually, I did enjoy it. There are some overtaking opportunities as well. I mean, it's quite frustrating, I suppose, sometimes when you arrive at a track and there aren't really any overtaking opportunities, or there aren't really any proper braking zones. I hate that. Yeah, let's go for a lap then. So we've got the final corner here, the chicane. Like we were told in the track walk, probably more important to get the exit right than the entry. And then we go into the hook. So we've got turn 1 here, and then turn 2. Turn 2, you really want to be hitting the apex of that third cone. Now I wasn't really doing that right. About 99% of the laps I was doing, I wasn't really getting right. But this here was my really weak point. If I was going to get overtaken by anyone, that moment just there, and there we are. There's Josh proving the point. That was going to be the corner where I was going to do it, and I was trying to focus on getting the second exit, but actually, if you miss the first exit today, at least there wasn't great grip. And if you miss the first exit, you're probably going to miss the second exit as well. Josh goes to the move on, driver ahead, and seeing if we can try and take some kind of advantage from this. We can't quite, so we slot in behind, concentrate on the exit again, and just hope that the battling that these guys are going to do might come to some advantage from us. And there we are, the quick touch, and we're up the inside, and that has benefited us quite a lot. We can see how important it is to get the exit of the hook right, because Josh has just driven away from us there. And now this is a different driver who's overtaken me again, so we've gone up one place, lost another one, so no real gain there. But the driver we did overtake, Scott, we are actually in the same class as, so that is going to be pretty important for us, really, making sure that we can put some daylight between him and ourselves, because that is, of course, Scott Parker. That is, of course, the aim of the game. Yeah, there's probably not that much to do. Yeah, so we're on the final lap here. Probably not much that we can really do about these guys in front. They're certainly slightly faster than us. But yeah, here, if you can straight line the exit of the hook, that's going to be really, really important. Into this complex here, you can see that I'm trying to go for the second apex and drive out straight, but because I'm missing the first, there's not much grip, and here into that turn, I really needed to be taking a little bit more speed in, going for a later apex, and then driving straight out of the corner there. I did sort of find some of this stuff out right towards the end of the day, but I suppose when you come to a track for the first time, you haven't tested, although I did get a little bit of a testing, but as the drivers ahead, just go for a little bit of a battle just in the last corner. There we are, 10th in that one. Like I say, just one place ahead of Scott Parker there, up 3 places. We started 13th, so yeah, good start, but a lot of very, very quick drivers there who sort of were able to make their way back through. Third heat, again, we're starting on the back row for this one, and yeah, it's the usual muddle into the hook, just seeing if we can take advantage of anyone there. It's all coming together, and seeing if I can go past the 2 guys on the left hand side here, go really, really deep in, but we get a tap on the rear, and that puts us back into last place. So not ideal. I knew it was a risk to sort of go outside when it's 3 wide. So you know, a little bit silly really on my part. I knew that was going to happen, but it's just a complete lack of discipline, isn't it? You know, if you see a gap there, you really want to go for it. As we just run in slightly to the driver up ahead of us, no harm done, but it is going to harm our drive onto the straight. We're going to go down the inside. He is probably going to come back at us. In fact, he does come back at us. You can't see from the camera angle, but he is there on our right hand side. But we just about managed to close him off, and we are back in the running after the guys up ahead of us. The guys up ahead of us are again C3 runners, so important that we do something about them. And yeah, we've got James Radovich, and I think that's Tom Stalker, or it might be Scott Parker, but either way, I think it's Scott actually. Either way, it's going to be very important to put some moves on those guys if we can. They were all very, very quick. I've started having a little look actually at the championship. Now, I missed the first, what was it, 5 rounds, something like that. I've only turned up to Club 100 halfway through the season, so I wasn't really looking at the championship at all, if I'm honest. But now I've done a few rounds, it's just a little bit interesting to see sort of like where you are. I'm up to the dizzying heights of 52nd, you'll be pleased to know. Yeah, after round 1 I was something like 97th in the championship, and then I've been sort of slowly making my way up there, courtesy of other people probably not turning up or what have you. But yeah, just interesting to see. I'm probably going to do almost all of the rounds now. I'm not actually booked in to Ella Park. Actually, interesting one. Is it Ella Park? Is it Elau? No one seems to know how to pronounce it. We're going to go for a move up the inside of James there. James just got into the back of Scott there, but unfortunately by having to go tight on the apex, it really ruins your exit, doesn't it? And exits are one of these perennial issues that I face. Got the run on James here though. Oh, we're going to go for it. Oh, we just back out just at the last minute. James hadn't seen us there, so you know, a millisecond longer and we probably would have taken him out, which obviously wouldn't have been ideal. Wouldn't have been ideal at all. So yeah, we live to fight another day, and we can go up ahead. But yeah, in this heat, we're not really making terrific progress, are we? It's not like heat 1 or heat 2 where we were able to make up sort of several positions at the start. It is getting a little bit more difficult. Essentially, there's sort of 5 of us having a fight now over these positions, and then we have now lost. We have dropped back from the group ahead. You can just see the group ahead in the distance there, and that's going to be sort of the biggest issue, I think, isn't it? If if they get ahead, then the furthest up we can finish is at the head of this group here, which probably would put us something like 11th or 12th, something like that. We're going to go outside and then cut back for the exit. We choose to go left around the outside, and that is actually a good move or good decision. We have to cut James off there, scare the driver on the left. There wasn't any contact actually, but I think we showed our nose, and then he didn't turn in, which is sort of a very gentlemanly thing to do. He could have just cut across the front of me there and had some contact, but he chose not to. It did actually put him on the dirtier part of the track, and that's carried him a little bit wide. So we're up 2 places on that lap, and again it was as a result of some people up ahead fighting. And that really helped us out to make the move. As you can see, everyone is pretty even. Really, the only way you're going to make up substantial time or substantial positions is if other people ahead choose to either get it wrong or to get into to some kind of fight, some kind of battle. So we've just got to look out for that. As you can see, someone's been kicking up the dust there, and we are quick into this chicane. But when you run into the back of someone, it really ruins your revs. It really stops you from then making any progress. And again, I think this is Scott Parker, who's 2 ahead of us, or 1 ahead of us, I should say, actually. And he is a rival, so we've got to see what we can do about this guy. Deciding to go conservative on the way in, not really getting that line right. I'm trying to straight line the exit of the hook. That's really important. If you can do that, then you make your time up all the way around this sort of section here. So important to be able to do that, really. And again, this sort of section here, I'm now beginning to get this a little bit better. Going for a later apex and making sure that the straight line speed on the straight is much better. Again, we make some time up, only to lose it on the exit. I would have thought we are nearing the end of this heat now, so it's going to be important to try and make a move on this guy. I suspect, as the final lap board comes out, I suspect that we have lost the battle for the head of this group, but we're going to go up the inside, perhaps a move that we perhaps should have done a few laps ago, as we go defensive. And we actually, you can see here, we actually find ourselves with quite a lot more grip if you go really narrow into that corner. Not something that I really realised. I am going slightly defensive into all of these corners now, just because I know that I've just made up a position. I know it's the final lap, so it is worth going defensive on the final lap. Again, some of the drivers ahead of us kicking up the dust. You can use the geo block there. JV gave us all of that space, but obviously if you're going further off onto the grass and kicking up the dust, then you know you've gone too far. But again, I imagine there has probably been a little bit of fighting to cause some of that. But there we are. That is heat 3 done, and we came home in 12th place. Okay, so there we are, up 3 positions, but we weren't the top C3 runner. That goes to Scott Parker. All of this put us P8 in the B final. So we're off and we're running here. So there's about 24 people in this final, something like that. Nick Walker goes all the way around the outside. Very brave move. We go conservative on the inside. And the 2 drivers who are on our right, I believe, met with the tyre barrier just there. So unfortunate for those guys. I think Nick Walker might have been caught up in that, but he is, as you're going to see, he is definitely still running, and he hasn't lost too much time because he's going to be bothering us in a minute. A decent return on lap 1. I think we've gone up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're in 6th position now. And importantly, we are the top C3 runner. So we started at C3 on C3 pole essentially. And at the moment, after the melee that is always lap 1 in go-karting, we have retained the position, but there are plenty of C3 runners just behind me, So the job is absolutely not done. It's going to be very, very tricky. We're going to go for a move up the inside. I'm not sure if that guy, I think he was a super heavyweight. I'm not sure if his kart was a little bit down on power. It did seem to be able to get some of the corners wrong and still kind of creep up to him on the top end. So possibly a sort of combination of things going on there. Now again, it's just going to be a case of trying to get our head down and do what we can to ensure that whilst we do have some clean air, we can use what we have learnt about the track and what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Earlier on in the day, actually, just on that hairpin, earlier on in the day, the sun was pretty low, so we were in the morning session, and you'll notice that it's suddenly become much more overcast. And this track in South Wales near Cardiff, Lalando, it's kind of it seems to have this reputation as a place which is always wet. And apparently it's really good fun in the wet. The surface is pretty abrasive, which means, I mean, it's not good for the tyres really, but it means that when you are running in the wet, the track does yield a lot of grip. So I think it's a pretty fun track to do in the wet, actually. But when you at the start of the day, the sun was coming from this angle here, right into our eyes at this point, and I found it really difficult actually to pick a braking zone for the hairpin here. But by this time I had managed it, and I think eventually, as we've got some naughty boy warning boards up there, by this time I had actually kind of realised what I should have been doing, taking a bit more of a late apex into this corner here as well now, just on the exit of the hook. So beginning to realise what the right thing to do was. Still getting too much slip around the double left-hander there, and Nick Walker punches us for it. There he is, jumping in the seat, trying to get the revs up as quickly as possible. So if you dilly-dally or get the entry or the exit of the corner wrong, then drivers of this calibre are going to be punishing you for it. So the driver ahead of us, Nick Walker, is a super heavyweight. So actually, there's really no excuse not to be sort of quicker than him. It's very impressive that despite the added weight, he's able to put some moves on us. And actually, we were pretty evenly matched. It's just a couple of tenths in it really. So he's obviously a very, very good driver, and certainly someone I can learn from. So just happy to sit behind. We're not in the same championship, so there's no need to go for any silly moves. Again, you can see that where I lose time in one or two corners. Everywhere else it's sort of pretty similar, but in that double left-hander there, does seem to be what I'm doing. So again, this is why I like to record my footage. It's quick in here, slow out. That's the wrong way round. You should be slowing fast out, shouldn't you? So again, I clearly wasn't noticing the subtleties whilst I was busy driving, defending, attacking, but certainly being able to look at your footage back does really, really help. And actually, we're beginning now to sort of settle into a four-kart battle. We're not really fighting just yet. We're not close enough. It's not a battle yet. But if we continue to put the clean laps in, then we will. And Nick clatters that curb there actually, but I think that was alright. I think it seemed to drag his kart round. It might be one that you can use and doesn't slow you down. But yeah, we are just trying now to put some clean laps in as best we can. And if any of the guys, I know it sounds really bad this, but I'm always looking ahead and thinking, yeah, go on boys, someone do something silly, someone throw something down the inside, let me take you on the exit. Obviously you don't want anyone crashing, you certainly don't want anyone getting hurt, do you? But sometimes a freebie off someone else's mistake, that can be a bit of a bonus. Beginning to get this corner a sort of a little bit better, managing to turn it a little bit earlier. And again, compared to my driving at the start of the day, I'm taking a later apex in there now, and that is beginning to earn us some dividends down this straight. And this is a pretty fast corner as well. It doesn't really matter. Barnaby on the track walk wasn't really, well, he was sort of saying it doesn't really matter if you sort of go for a heavy braking lock up later into the corner or brake earlier and carry the speed through. It didn't seem to make any difference to lap time. I found personally that a smaller dab on the brake and carrying more speed through the corner, braking early, carrying more speed through into the corner was working a little bit better for me with my driving style, with my weight. That's what we did. Nick Walker now getting much closer to the guy up ahead, and he is obviously now a little bit more worried about me, and I have, after a couple of laps of learning and copying off of his homework, and being able to get onto the back of him, and this is a better apex now. That's what I should have been doing. And now you can see that the exit, I'm going left, I'm going right, trying to confuse Nick as best I can. He locks up, nearly forced him into a mistake there. We're side by side, but he just gets the better of us. Exciting moment there. Certainly something to learn from. I'm going to go back and have a look at what I did there in preparation for next time, as we get the exit of the hook wrong. And again, you can see, can't you, just how important it is, how much time you can lose if you do slightly the wrong thing in any of these corners. And that's, what is that, about 6 kart lengths, something like that, just as a result of not driving straight out of the hook. I had a little bit of steering angle on. The subtleties between what makes a terrific lap time and what makes a good lap time are small. So important to always be checking your footage back and seeing what happens. And as a result of that, we are not in a position now to take advantage of the move that's just gone up ahead of us. So sad times, but a lesson worth learning. Taking lots of speed into the hook there, sacrificing the exit, again probably not the right thing to do, as you can see. Our weaker point into the double left-hander, but that wasn't too bad actually. That wasn't too bad, that one. And seeing if the driver ahead of us can get back ahead of Nick, and we're just going to again try to. So Nick has to go defensive. Have to go. Just trying to stay with him as much as possible. As Nick Walker goes wide, they both lock up. The driver, one ahead of us, is now 2 ahead of us, and he is Nick Walker looking back over his shoulder, trying to make sure that we are not going to throw one up the inside again. We're not as close as we were a couple of laps ago, so it's not quite going to work this time. Again, it's just going to be a matter now, I think, of sticking behind these more experienced drivers and trying to work out what they're doing. Did you see that? That is probably the best example of what I was doing wrong there. Just slightly too much speed at the final corner, sort of final apex, as we've got a driver on our left-hand side. Now have a look at this. Leave space on the exit for him. We did rub slightly, but I actually got a warning for that, a contact warning, so I'm not really sure about that one. Didn't know that there was anyone there actually, but this is another C3 driver who has had an absolute, had a fantastic B final, and he's made up about 10 positions or something like that, 9 positions at the moment. It's happy days for him. So all of a sudden now we are having, there's our contact warning. We are having to sort of check behind us, and this is really difficult, isn't it? When you can just focus ahead, it's much easier. When you've got to check that you're not compromising your exit or entry or anything like that, then that's when life becomes far more complicated. And life has just become far more complicated. We've got a driver right behind us, and it's going to be really important that we don't do anything that's going to sacrifice our line. And really, these guys up ahead, we don't need to overtake them. They're, like I say, in a different class. They're either C2 or super heavyweight, so we don't need to be overtaking them. We can just sit in their slipstream and have them drag us along. So hopefully that's what we're going to do. But are we going to do it? Well, we'll have to wait and see. probably a couple of laps to go now, not that much longer, but yeah, our good entry speed into the hook is yeah, it's not ideal. These guys are now beginning to fight, which in itself is not a problem, but that's going to back me up into the guy behind as well. Seeing if we can do anything here now. Nick Walker gets a bad exit, we go left, then we go sort of defensive, and we get a hit. We take a hit there, and we get pushed onto the grass. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that one. I mean, if I got warned in the last lap, I'm not really sure how that was okay. I'm not bitter about this, by the way. I sound a little bit bitter, but no, I'm not at all. He drove very, very well. And in actual fact, it's a bit difficult to see what happened, but there is about to be a carbon copy of the move that was made on me into exactly the same corner and exactly the same way this time around. So again, as these guys are fighting, I'm sort of thinking, well maybe I can get that place back as the two in front are fighting and slowing themselves down, and yeah, just trying to lose a little bit of time on the entrance and go for the exit. But here, this is pretty much exactly what happened, and it's a robust move, wouldn't you say? I mean, for me, it's an advantage by contact, isn't it? We managed to slip through as well, but yeah, make with that what you will. Anyway, it is what it is, and he was very, very quick. He drove very, very well. So you know, no hard feelings in any way, shape, or form. He deserved it. Deserved the win. So we are actually now on to the final lap, I believe. Oh no, that was it. That was the end of the race. So there we are. It was second in class. In the end, so there we are. It's sixth overall, so up 2 places, second in class, and another fantastic day with Club 100 racing. There we are. There's the podiums, me on the left. So well done to everyone, and look forward to seeing you at Wilton. Thanks very much.